Okay, so where are the subtitles?
Japan has been my dream country ever since I saw a special episode from my local video game magazine covering the Tokyo Game Show all the way back in 2008. Even though this might sound like a typical weeb story, I don't really care, as Japan has been my obsession long before I even discovered the term weeaboo. Coincidentally, my wife also was very keen on visiting the land of the rising sun, and was rejoiced when we decided that our first proper holiday in many years was going to be in Japan. So join us on this amazing trip, as in the following videos we will share our impressions of 3 major cities in Japan and many kilometers that we covered on foot in this incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience. After an almost 20-hour flight, we finally saw the bright lights of Osaka shining at us through the plane window as we were about to land in the Kansai International Airport. This was it was real, our lifetime dream was getting closer with every passing minute. After so many years of talks and preparations, we finally made it to Japan. I should say that during the first couple of days, we both had a hard time believing that we were actually in Japan, so don't be too surprised if you hear "I couldn't believe it" every once in a while in this video. I'm the kind of person who likes to prepare as much as possible in advance. Be it finding out about Japan's ingenious Ikoka travel cards, which are a must if you're planning to do a lot of train and bus riding, especially in the Kansai region where cities like Kyoto, Osaka and Kobe are located. But even getting the best traveling solutions and routing out the journey to the hotel like I did won't save you from outside factors, like the station's ceasing to operate at midnight. So we rode as far as we could via Osaka's metro and took a taxi from Namba to Shin Osaka, where our hotel was located. Our relatively short ride, along with a nice chat about the current state of Japan's taxis with the driver, and we made it to the first destination, a quiet neighborhood 5 minutes away from the Shin Osaka station. We quickly dropped off our bags at the hotel and decided to go for a short walk to the nearest konbini, Japan's famous 24/7 convenience stores. There's a belief that your first steps in a new place are special, and this couldn't be any closer to the truth than with Japan. Despite feeling like a chocolate bar on a hot summer day, every step that we've made that night was special. Just that sense of excitement, the joy of first discovery overwhelmed us, and we couldn't wait for the trip of our lifetime to actually start. So, a quick stop at the first of many konbinis, complemented by a nice stroll back to the hotel, first Japanese beer of the trip, to rest up and prepare for what was to come. I gotta say, things did liven up significantly during the daytime. We checked out of the hotel before 10 o'clock in the morning to find the city of Osaka to be bustling with life. I honestly don't know what else I was expecting from the second largest city in Japan, but anyway. August is quite rightly considered to be one of the hottest months in Japan, but this wasn't going to stop us. We had a friend to meet in Kyoto, so we hopped on the rapid train to Kyoto, don't mix that up with Shinkansen, made it to the hotel, which was a mere 10-minute walk from the Kyoto station, and began our exploration of the city. The best way to describe Japan's cities is aesthetically pleasing. From the nature that blends into the urban landscape to the different means of transportation, be it trains, buses or just regular cars. I'm a huge car fan, and my stay in Japan was nothing short than an absolute delight, as I found joy in just gazing at the different cars. Even my wife, who's not much of a car person, couldn't help but smile at the sight of these lovely little things. Now I know for sure that I want one of these so-called K-cars. If you're arriving in Kyoto via the Kyoto station, my recommendation would be to start your day by visiting the Kyoto Tower, which is just across the street from the station. The view is absolutely breathtaking, and you'll get many great photos and memories that will last for a long time. I nearly cried there, as I was overwhelmed and couldn't believe that it was all true. It was there where we saw our first gacha machines and got a taste of the famous conveyor belt sushi, which were amazing by the way. Of course, we didn't go to Japan only for the amazing views and delicious food, though that would be more than enough to be honest. So the next stop was the famous Yodobashi Camera, a major electronics store in Kyoto. If you're looking for new games, camera equipment and just about any other electric appliances, this is the place to go. I love the variety on display and actually started to get a better idea about what I want to bring back with me. I'll definitely do a separate pickups video to show all of the goods we've purchased on this trip, so be sure to stay tuned for more Japan related content. We've had quite a schedule, so our sights were set for the Kyoto Manga Museum. On the way there, I found a train station where JoJo and Jujutsu Kaisen fans usually meet up to discuss their respective fandoms. The museum itself was pretty interesting, though somewhat limiting in terms of what can be done, especially if you don't know Japanese well enough to be able to check out the museum's incredible manga collection preserved from the 19th century. Still, even an idiot like me learned something new and discovered new manga artists whose works I will be sure to check out in the future. Next up was Kawaramachi, Kyoto's entertainment area. Here, hidden in plain sight, you can find one of the best eateries in terms of value for money, with set meals representing the best of Kyoto's fine cooking. I'll attach the link to this place in the comments. Right after walking out of the restaurant, I witnessed firsthand one of Japan's greatest obsessions, the UFO catchers, or in other words, crane games. Man, they just love these things and would spend quite a lot of time and money trying to catch a figure that they want. We also indulge in this fascinating leisure activity, and failed many times. Needless to say that we won nothing from these crane games. Still, it was worth every penny. Kyoto is also full of vintage clothing stores that offer amazing quality for a reasonable price. You'd have a hard time finding better deals for the lineup on display. Now, if only my fat ass could fit in any of these. Hey, at least my wife had fun browsing through different sections and trying out lots of cool clothes. To visit Kyoto and not see the famous Gion area is a criminal offense that should be punished by the international tourism law. So we decided to finish the day in this wonderful historical area. Gion during the day is amazing. At nighttime, it's pure tranquility. The peacefulness, the dimly-lit streets, the slowly flowing water in the ponds and park areas. This was love at first sight, and my biggest regret is that we could only see it once during this trip. I like the look of traditional Japanese shrines and temples. The mix of different religions is what gives these buildings their unique look, with no two temples looking exactly the same. Walking through Gion after dark was definitely one of the highlights of this entire trip, and I recommend this to anyone who wants a truly unique experience. We called it a day after hanging out at a pub and grabbing a pint of some darn good local beer. Our first full day was eventful, but this was just the beginning. 3 hours of sleep. We only got 3 hours of sleep before this day, but we've decided that we'll have plenty of time to rest after the trip. So we packed our essentials and headed out to see perhaps the most beautiful nature ever. Our next destination was Arashiyama. I don't even know what impressed me more, the amazing bamboo forests, the absolutely breathtaking slopes and mountains with waterfalls falling into the river, or the gorgeous architecture with a focus on preserving the original look of this truly magnificent area. I was absolutely blown away by how majestic and peaceful Arashiyama was. The best experience here would be to grab a nice caffeinated beverage at one of the local coffee shops and take a stroll along the riverbank, allowing this place to work its magic and enchant you, which is exactly what we did. From Arashiyama, we headed to a traditional bathhouse turned dinery via one of Kyoto's signature mini-trams. Yep, the ones that you see in most animes that take place in Kyoto. The place itself was also very nice and quiet, offering amazing quality of food and comfort. I love places like this where you can just sit down and have a good time with your friends without too much hassle. Then we decided to split up before our special gathering with a very special person, so me and my wife headed back to Kawaramachi to check out the local scene in more detail. Yep, it took us less than 2 full days to wind up in video game and figure shops, but dear lord, they are awesome. The sheer variety on display and the asking prices could make any gamer/otaku's mouth water. So let's grab a basket and see what Surugaya Kyoto has to offer. Honestly, after this trip, I don't think I'll be able to look at my local video game stores the way I used to. every possible system, video game, accessory, and any other trinket that can be found here, with prices starting as low as 100 yen. This is something in the ballpark of 60 cents for a game, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, this is part due to the weakened state of the Japanese yen, but even before this situation, the prices were way more reasonable than the ones found in the West. I want to quickly touch upon Japan's drinking culture and the incredible variety of drinks to choose from, be it soft drinks like their amazing bottled tea and coffee, or the insane variety of alcoholic beverages, mostly consisting of different kinds of beer. I'm not much of a drinker myself and generally don't like beer, but in Japan it hits different, you know? What I noticed during our stay in Japan is that there is a place for almost any hobby you can think of, from something obvious like games and sports to something way more specific like badges and stickers. One such shop is called B-Side Label, and I highly recommend it to anyone looking to add to their badge, magnet or sticker collection. After spending a bit more time browsing through figures in Lashin bag and picking up a few along the way, it was time to go to our planned meetup with a very special host. You see, my good friend lives in Kyoto and sometimes goes mountain climbing with a very interesting man named Eiji-san. And Eiji-san was very eager to meet up with us as I am one of the few people who will be contacted in case of any emergency situation with my friend. We've had such a wonderful evening and Eiji-san was an absolute joy to talk to, not to mention how cool the meetup spot was. This was a traditional Japanese restaurant which was almost 200 years old, and everything was served exactly like it would be 200 years ago. All of the waiters, and specifically there was only one, was dressed in a traditional kimono. All the drinks and everything, all the food was served at a timely basis, so it's all like a big experience that you just have to witness for yourself. Out of respect for everyone involved, I did not film much of this meetup, but I will attach a link to this place so that you can book a table for yourself. And believe me when I say that you do want to visit this place. It's just incredible. This feeling of tradition and really the way it used to be in Japan. It's amazing, really. And I believe there is some dish that they make there which is actually only made in that specific restaurant. Like the way they prepare, I think, the codfish or something like that. No other place in entire Kyoto does it. So, I highly recommend it. To cap off an already amazing day, we hit the arcades and once again tried our luck at the crane games. And failed again. On to the next day. Osaka is an entirely different beast when compared to Kyoto, but before we could see it for ourselves, a quick stop at Don Quijote near Kyoto Station was necessary. Besides, we were waiting for our friend to join us, so there was some time to kill. I know that this may sound cliche, but I've never seen a department store quite like Don Quijote. From home appliances and food to e-cigarettes and toy cars, it really does seem to have everything, and at a reasonable price. This might be obvious, but I should point out that Don Quijote is a complete no-brainer when it comes to getting souvenirs and great personal items, which is exactly what we did, and set off to the station. Don Quijote will make additional appearances later on, so we're not saying goodbye just yet. One more glance at the Kyoto Tower and we're off to the bright lights of Osaka. Osaka feels a lot more like a really big and busy city, despite the fact that it's not much bigger than Kyoto. Perhaps this is due to a pretty complicated subway system with endless exits and transfers at the major stations. It definitely takes time to get used to the local subway layout. But once you get the hang of things and finally make it to one of the lovely districts, it all comes together nicely and gives that sense of coziness that would be more common for a way smaller town. After leaving our bags in a hotel near the Dobotsu Mae station, we set out to a very special area just a few minutes away from us. Shinsekai, New World. Time seems to have stopped in this neighborhood about 50 years ago. If it wasn't for the glimpses of modern era technologies, I could have sworn that not much has changed since the early 80s. Shinsekai is a living time capsule that captures the essence of a time long gone by. Same goes for the next area just beyond Shinsekai. Denden Town is Kansai's answer to Tokyo's Akihabara, with many small shops that focus primarily on everything electrical. I do love to browse through different shops, and Osaka delivered them in bucket loads. Never before have I seen so many retro game stores located just a few minutes away from each other. The selection was fantastic and the prices were more than reasonable. Osaka was, is, and probably forever will be my go-to place when it comes to hunting for great deals on everything gaming related. Having tried the best ramen of my life, it was time to hit one of Japan's signature attractions, karaoke. It was challenging at times, especially the songs in Japanese, but we've all had an absolute blast singing our favorite titles from different games, movies and other albums. And the all-you-can-drink policy really helped me not to lose my voice completely. Karaoke really exemplifies Japan's attitude when it comes to social interactions. Feel free to do as you please, as long as it doesn't break any laws or disturb the others. You may be absolutely terrible at singing or a living karaoke legend, but the only poor souls who will get to know this for sure are the ones who were dumb enough to go to the same room with you. You think that after such a wild ride we'd call it a day, but we still had one last place to visit: Dotonbori. Yep, that one area where you see literally in every Osaka video with the running man and an endless number of other billboards. Let me tell you, seeing this place at night in all of its glory is a sight that gets imprinted in your memory forever. I love this place, despite the relatively big crowds. It's an absolute must to visit if you're in Osaka. A quick stop at the arcade to play some Taiko no Tatsujin, Japan's famous drumming rhythm game, and a quick bite at Sukiya, after a nice evening walk through Osaka, ended the day perfectly. Sukiya seemed to be running some limited time collab dedicated to the new Crayon Shin-chan title, so they gave these cute random toys with every meal set. I'd say not bad for a Happy Meal replacement. Nighttime Osaka is truly enchanting and gave me some of the most pleasant memories of walking down its streets after all of the commotion was over, and only a select number of shops and eateries remained open. Our second full day in Osaka was special. It was my wife's birthday. She's really into Pokemon, so we decided to visit Osaka's Pokemon Center DX, located just beyond the famous Dotonbori Street. But before we made it to the Pokemon Center, we visited numerous shops including Marumi Ryo, a store that specializes in workwear clothing and equipment. Well, the clothing itself is not flashy, but it's more than makes up for it with its supreme quality and reasonable pricing. Since our hotel was practically in walking distance from the Namba station, we decided to go through our favorite areas one more time and absorb the atmosphere of Shinsekai and Denden Town once more. Osaka is sometimes called the kitchen of Japan, and I don't think that there is a dish any more famous in Osaka than its signature takoyaki, fried wheat flour balls with octopus filling. I can now officially say that going to Osaka and not trying their takoyaki is a crime punishable by law. The taste, the smell, the texture were perfect. Combine that with a nice cool beverage and you get a match made in heaven. More video game hunting was next, along with visiting a random exhibition of modern art where we found some really nice postcards with Japanese nature and urban landscapes. I just love Japan's stores. They always give that feeling of excitement and joy of discovery when you never know what exactly you're going to find, making the whole process even more engaging. Not to mention the occasional stands dedicated to one specific franchise that are an absolute joy to watch. And then amongst this endless hunting and window shopping, suddenly it appeared. The Holy Grail. The black and white perfection of the mid-80s Japanese affordable car engineering. Toyota Trueno A86 Apex in all of its glory. Such a random street spot, yet it made my day. The Tombori during the day may not be as flashy as it is in its prime time, but majestic nonetheless. We were lucky to walk these streets multiple times during our stay and had an absolute blast every single time. And I cannot really put my finger on what exactly made these strolls so pleasant. It's just the overall atmosphere and the realization that we made it to our dream country that filled us with joy and a wish to continue walking down the narrow streets of Japan, regardless of how little sleep we got or how sore our legs were feeling. The Pokemon Center was great. Very rarely do you see such a big part of a shopping mall dedicated to a single franchise. Later on we would realize that this is just how the Japanese roll, and it's not uncommon to see special spots all decked out in Pokemon or Jump Comics memorabilia. If there is a popular Japanese franchise, there's bound to be a special cafe or a shop. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to film inside of the Pokemon Center, but I did get a few good shots of the statues near the entrance. You have to take my word for it when I say that Osaka's Pokemon Center really lives up to the X in its name. The thing I really like about Osaka and Kyoto are small restaurants and cafes that are usually only known to the locals. And that's exactly where we ended up thanks to our good friend who knew Kansai's largest cities very well. I only wish that I could film this place more. It was such a cozy cafe with jazz music playing in the background, and a huge selection of different coffee blends and brewing options to choose from. Think any classic novel written by Haruki Murakami, and you'll get the idea what this place was like. Once your order arrives, you get a little card that tells you about the barista, the blend, and the brewing process of your drink. Needless to say that the coffee tastes wonderful. We then made our way to Umeda Station and visited the rooftop garden of the Grand Front Osaka building, and the famous Umeda Sky building. It will never cease to amaze me how well nature is implemented into Japan's urban landscapes. One moment you're walking down a crowded busy street, only to be surrounded by the silence and freshness of a green garden. This is city park areas done right, and I'm all for this kind of setup. Having made a stop at a local eatery and tasting arguably the nicest sushi that literally melt in your mouth, we headed to Osaka's answer to Tokyo's Skytree, the Umeda Sky building. Man, what a view! I'm so glad we came here in the evening, with the city lights in full force providing an amazing spectacle and a sense of scale that no camera could ever dream to capture. I don't want to sound like an LG TV commercial, but you really have to see it to see it. If you go to Osaka, Umeda Sky Building is an absolute must. Remember when I said that Japan is an absolute treasure trove when it comes to themed places? Well, there's a Dragon Quest Lawson located near the Namba station. They really went all out with the design, and even the doors make the Dragon Quest sounds when they open. This is completely unnecessary, but I'm glad a place like this exists. If anything, it got the job done and it got me excited to play the Dragon Quest games. We finished off the day by taking another stroll down the cozy streets of Denden Town. It was there where we stumbled upon a video game store that was open until 2 in the morning. You know, just in case you want to get a random Dragon Quest game at like 1 o'clock in the morning, like, you know, your daily fix of Dragon Quest or any other popular Japanese franchise. We walked in, had a look around, and then my wife finally gave in to the temptation of getting her first ever personal console. The weekly console sales reports counted one more Nintendo Switch sold that day. The view of the quiet bright lights of Shinsekai ended our stay in Kansai with a new chapter of our journey on the horizon. That concludes part 1 of the trip, so second part is going to be more about Tokyo and the Kanto region and all the things that happened there. So please stay tuned, and hopefully I'll be able to release it sometime soon. Anyways, Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you don't, feel free to walk away. It's like a free space, free internet space. So yeah. So more about Japan coming up, and thank you. Take care and have a great time. Bye.